All right, welcome to another video from the Outdoor Analyst. I've got a fun one for you today, and this one might ruffle some feathers, that's for sure. I am going to basically go over what I think is Bark River's best knife that they produce right now. And that is going to be saying something. That's definitely going to ruffle a lot of feathers. But right now, you've already probably seen the title, so you know what I'm going to be talking about. I am going to be discussing the Bark River Forest Scandi. And so far, I think this is probably the best thing I've seen Bark River come out with. Now, it is also the only knife that, well, spoiler alert, I'm saying it's the best because I actually picked up two of these because of how fantastic they are. And both different styles. So we have a first run, we have a second run. This is in CPM 3V, this is in CPM Magna Cut. Both incredible steels. Also looks like we may be losing that factory, Crucible Industries, so we may actually not be getting those steels from Crucible anymore, which is interesting. But these are just beautiful, beautiful knives. I have loved every minute I have had with the Bark River Forest Scandi. It is an 8.5-inch long total knife. You have about 3 3/4 blade on there. That leaves a super comfortable large size handle, which is nice and neutral looking. And I'm pulling up two because these are not exactly the same. You actually have a little bit more swell in this one right here than the others that I have. And it is a little bit thicker. Very, very beautiful. Oh, I absolutely love these. Oh, they're just fantastic. We got a pine cone on here. What is this? Just a regular micarta, black micarta with a natural bolster, micarta bolster. This is a carbon fiber bolster. I have to say, this knife is about 4 ounces. This one's about 3. This is insanely light. This is Mora Companion light. It is awesome. It is ridiculous. I don't even know how to explain how incredibly light and nimble both of these knives are. This one feels really, really comfy and just right. This one almost feels like it's too light. It is so ridiculously light. This has hit the backpacking world. These are a hidden tang, so they're not a full tang knife, either one of them. Penned in there with a nice copper or a brass pen and lanyard tube in the back. Interesting how there's a little different style on there from generation to generation. But man, they are super ergonomic. They're very neutral. You have a little bit of swell in the back and it gets a little bit thinner on this one, and it is incredibly, incredibly comfortable for continued use, which is what this is made for. It is one of the best knives out there for the purpose. This is an awesome carving knife. I have been using these as carving knives. I even carved my own axe with a, well, actually I hung a hatchet, or no, I hung a, what was it, a boy's axe with this carving axe and this Forest Scandi, and it was just an immaculate time. Just shaving that sucker down, getting it to fit. Oh my goodness. And Magna Cut, you know, they may actually do this nice and soft, which is probably not the best thing, but for a fixed blade, this held up very, very well. And when you're doing crazy amounts of carving and twisting, I think they did their Magna Cut a little bit on the tougher end of the scale. And I'm actually okay with that. Edge retention, this is not immaculate compared to what Magna Cut can actually do because of where they hardened it to, but it is going to be very, very tough for Magna Cut. So I really do appreciate that. The ultimate toughness, this is CPM 3V, so this just dominates that in every way, shape, or form. That's completely stainless. This is not. I don't have to worry about those rolling issues if it gets, you know, into something really, really crazy when you're carving, which is what you're doing. But man, I have just fallen in love with the Puko style on this. You can get just so close up on that blade and you have so much control. And because this is like 4 ounces and this is like 3, it's insanely light and controllable. You can just do work for hours and hours without having any issues whatsoever. That's where these knives just absolutely shine. I'll kind of put some comparisons in here just so you have an idea. Number one, everybody knows the Mora Garberg. You know what this knife looks like, the size of it. We are looking about, you have about an extra inch of blade on there for the Garberg. Without a doubt, your handles are about the same length actually. fairly similar girth, just different styles and how to do it. A little bit longer on the Bark River. Definitely get a bigger blade. This is more of a true, I don't know, bushcrafty wood knife. This is really just a carving, so I like that this is actually a little bit smaller. Love the Mora, but let's put another one out here that everybody knows. Let's do a gunny. This is a gunny Hunter from Bark River, but give you a good idea. Gunny, blade length, about the same actually on blade length. You get a little extra blade with the gunny, just because it doesn't have that extra little choil there. Handle wise, much thicker on the Scandi for sure. And you're also dealing with a Scandi Vex on there versus this is a full height convex. I like the Scandi Vex. This thing is just immaculate. It just honks out wood, gives you so much control. It's 0.14 thickness on the blade here, so actually I think it's the same as the gunny. Really great slicey thickness. It's just a wonderful, wonderful knife. Let's see if I want to throw any other comparisons out here. Oh, just for the fun of it, here's like the Bushcraft Scout. These weigh about the same, which is crazy. That pine cone just does not have much weight to it at all. So definitely much bigger than the Bushcraft Scout. Blade-wise, they're actually about the same. Cutting edge probably just a hair bit less on that Scout there. Still an ergonomic knife, but this just crushes it for what it is. And now that these weights are actually equal, yes, this isn't full tang, and that's the big difference there. Ooh, this could put its role into a backpacking knife, to be completely honest with you. Although this is Magna Cut, I love that. This one has that extra ounce. I think it is an extra ounce heavier in this thing, and you can feel it. It's a little bit thicker. Does feel a little bit more weighty than this, but man, just super, super, super cool knives. Absolutely love them. For use, these feather like a dream. They carve incredibly well. They won't honk out as much, I feel like, wood as this, as in depth as like a full straight on Scandi. Because it's convex, I think this does bite in just a hair bit more. But I think you get more controlled curls and you get more control off of this versus this is just a beastly biter. I did fully Scandi this sucker, so it's not well, let's face it probably has a little bit of a convex. No one can do these things perfectly unless you're looking at like Rockstead knives. Those are true like zero edge Scandis. They're insane. But yeah, it's kind of hard to get much further into this besides the fact that these have held up incredibly well. They're just beautiful. Two different kind of things that you can go for. I think the CPM 3V, if you are just worried about toughness and you don't care about stainlessness, especially if you're out kind of like on the west where there's not a lot of humidity, not a lot of water, 3V is probably your winner because for carving, you don't want to have to worry about anything ever having an issue. Like as far as chipping or rolling, the 3V is a much tougher steel than Magna Cut. For where I'm at in the Midwest, I really, really like Magna Cut because of the stainlessness. Everything's wet here. All the wood's stringy. There's always going to be moisture, whether it's freaking like 1.5 feet or it's a foot-ish of snow out right now. Actually, no, we did get another like 4 inches. So, I mean, it's probably nearly getting to 1.5 feet outside. Or it's always raining. Moisture is everywhere out here, or incredibly humid during the summer and raining. So I really like the Magna Cut version. I actually like the extra weight that's in this. The only real downside on the fit and finish on this one was the plunge grind is not perfect on this one. It's not. It's a little bit off. And you can see the hidden tang. You can see the tang going into the handle. I really don't like that. I think that's just poor quality. You can kind of see, this one's a little bit better, but it's still there, just a hair, if you really get real picky on there. And the plunge grind is honestly about the same on this one. Not perfect. Definitely tell it was not, it was hand done. And, I don't think that's actually, you can get perfect knives that are hand done on plunge grinds. I see them all the time from other companies. Bark River has no excuse to do that, but yet they still kind of release that work because that's their quality control. They just don't care. So these will not be perfect for the price that you're paying for them. let's hope you get a deal. I got a crazy good deal on this one. This was 160 bucks. I mean, that was nuts. They're not going to be like that probably ever again. That was a Black Friday deal from DLT Trading. But these are, I think, probably worth on the lower end, as long as you're not going like crazy, crazy fancy materials. They're worth the money that Bark River's charging. They're incredible knives. They really, really are. You can't go wrong with them. They're just immaculate carvers. I think, you know, the Gunny Hunter is legitimately my favorite hunting knife of all time. And I'm still going to say, I think these are probably the best knives that they have out. Like, yeah, there's a ton of hunting knives that work incredibly well. Do I love this one? 100%. I just field dressed so many things with this. This is second nature. I am in love. This handle and blade geometry, everything about this is near perfection. And yes, it is not the Coke bottle. It is more of a natural handle. And this can be just a preference. I have large to XL size hands. I also, when it comes to LT Wrights, I like the Genesis over the GNS. I like that broom style handle because for continued use, it actually is more comfortable not to have all those curves in there. I think it works with your hand better not to have those curves for like actual woodworking. Now for Bambi and doing that, I really appreciate the different curves on here because I like to lock my hand in more when I'm doing stuff. I don't want my hand to move at all. I want it to be just know where I'm at. And these curves really do help. They make that ergonomic and nice. But for continued like feather sticking and carving, this is a better, I think it's a more ergonomic with the human hand. I think it works better. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. I'm not the all be all expert, and we all have different hands as well. I just know that over the years and decades that I've been doing this, this is the style of handle that works best for this. And I think they just nailed the carving knife so well. I don't think Bark River does anything where I would say this is near the best carving knife in the world. Yeah, this is an awesome hunting knife. I've got a bunch of really good field dressing knives. I mean, if you look at my field dressing video, I've got 4 or 5 that without a question are insane. I don't have as many like carving knives that fit this role as this perfect. I'll tell you, even like the LT Wright Genesis is one of the best bushcraft knives for wood. It doesn't really hit that carving style nearly as much as this does. This puts Mora, Mora's the cheapest thing out there. That's awesome. You can get a Mora Companion, which feels like this weight-wise. But these are way better steels, obviously, and they're way cooler looking than a Companion. But I think these are they just do a better job than anything else out there right now, which is a win for me. Could it change? Absolutely. Could preferences change? Sure. Do I actually need 2 of these? Probably not. I know that the Magna Cut's definitely going to be where I live. Just it hits my needs the most. I really do like this steel in this type of knife. It's a small fixed blade, so you don't need the insane toughness. I think this works great. I mean, I've used it on seasoned wood, for goodness sakes. I've carved seasoned spoons out of this thing, out of hard seasoned wood, and had no chips, no rolling, no issues whatsoever. So the need for CPM 3V, I don't think is there, but just the ultimate knowledge that toughness is there is pretty insane, and I do love that. I love that in a 3V knife, especially when it's convexed. It just is pretty much perfection for not having any issues. So yeah, I hope this was just a fun overview. Just letting you know that I think these are elite. I think they're Bark River's best. And yes, I've owned hundreds of Bark Rivers. I really have, which is kind of insane. I've gone through a lot of them. So yes, I also know about their quality control issues right now too. The old ones are really, really amazing. I'll have a video coming up next week of an old Bark River that's just spot on, and I got really nothing bad to say about it at all. It's excellent. So I've had tons of them. I know Bark River very, very well. Pretty much had every knife in their line. And I just don't have anything that really compares that I think dominates the market. This is just one of the coolest Pucos out there. It just ergonomically rocks. And the steel that they're using with actually the heat treats, I like the lower Rockwells on these. That Rockwell rocks for what carving needs, in my opinion. I could be wrong. Somebody might actually want more edge retention than this. I don't think you really ever need more edge retention than what this will give you for carving wood. That's for darn sure, but that's just a personal preference. So yes, preference video completely. As you know, the next person, especially in a different area, might think this would never fit their location for where they live. And that's probably true in some cases. Absolutely. I live in the Midwest. I think these fit me well for carving. I think carving's kind of universal, to be honest with you. So these work pretty well everywhere, but to each their own. I just wanted to show something cool. This was one of the newer designs, I feel like, from Bark River, and that actually I slept on it to start with. I did not like this knife when it first came out. It took me a few years to kind of actually jump into it. It wasn't until I found a really good deal, and honestly, the Magna Cut drew me in, that I gave it a shot and realized how good this design truly is. It is designed so well. And yeah, the looks have grown on me. They really, really have. And just a heads up, it is a Puko. So if you are used to a guard, this will scare you, to be completely honest with you. Most people don't like Pukos, especially the first time they've ever held them. I'll just give you the first time I held a more Garberg. I didn't like this because I thought it didn't have enough guard for me at the time. I wasn't super comfortable with having the ability to be that close to the blade and slip up easily. It's not really much of a guard. Over the decades, I have really moved out to where I like this Puko style. I like being right up on the edge of the blade. But it is kind of a warning to those who've never done that before, never actually experienced it and held it in hand. It may not be the knife for you. It may scare you, to be completely honest, because there is no guard, which means you do have to be more careful with this knife. This is not my go-to field dressing knife. I like little guards on field dressers just to know that that's my stopping point. That's not here for this. But for carving, this is what I want. This is really, really what I think is almost necessary. So yeah, hope this was a fun review. Like, subscribe. I like to do content like this a lot of times outside, but it is freaking cold out right now. It's just not worth being out there and doing videos. I don't even know how my camera would do, honestly, right now, how cold it is. I think we're at like 1 degree, so I'll pass on that. I'm happy to be inside. Alrighty. Well, hope this was fun. I will catch you on the next one.